Are Joe Milton struggles correctable at this point in his career? What's Florida's game plan going to be against Tennessee? And is Tennessee holding back some from the playbook? All that and more. Your questions, what Josh Heupel had to say about Florida and the AP game. All that and more. It's your Tuesday Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good Tuesday, everybody. Welcome into it. This is Locked On Vols. It is your team every single day. We're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Shout out everydayers. Thanks so much for making Locked On Vols. That is your first listen each and every day. Thanks for subscribing. We are almost to 9,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. We just passed 8K like 2 weeks ago, and you guys are on fire. You know it's football season. Thank you so much for subscribing to Locked On Vols on the YouTube page and literally wherever you listen to your podcast. Got a big show coming up today. What Josh Heupel said. We're going to take some of his best quotes and sound bites from his Monday press conference. We'll get into your mailbag questions in segment 2. And then going to catch up with Brandon Spurlock from the Volunteer Club over at Spyre Spotts. Night at Neyland this Saturday. A chance to watch Tennessee from Neyland Stadium. Of course, you know Tennessee's on the road this week. Brandon Spurlock's going to tell us more about that opportunity for the night at Neyland. That's coming up in segment 3. This episode is brought to you in part by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. That is at Gametime and the Gametime app. Okay, so I want to get into it. Some of the best things that Josh Heupel said on a Monday. And again, it's a weekly press conference. You know he's going to be peppered with questions, or he was peppered with questions about Joe Milton, this offense, you know, what's the issue, all that type of stuff. But more importantly, the response. You know, I talked about on Saturday whenever I did my postcast, I'm like, it feels like this is a loss. And Tennessee just won a game by 17 points. But it feels like a loss, you know, because you were expecting it to be so much more explosive, expecting to see so many young guys play and all that type of stuff. And we know it wasn't. You know, we'll talk a little bit of PFF grades on Wednesday's show, and that'll be it. We're not going to mention the AP game again. It's going to be full steam ahead to Florida. But we're going to talk a little Florida here as well. But how was the response from the football team in the film room, learning from their mistakes, out on the practice field Monday morning? How did the team respond, and what were some of the good things that you could take away from that football game against Austin Peay? Here's what Josh Heupel had to say when asked about that Monday at his press conference.
Yeah, really good. Good energy out on the grass with them today, but really good in the meeting room too. Anticipated that from these guys. We got strong leadership. Guys care about their performance, but they care how they get there too. I said it after the game too. I didn't feel like we didn't prepare the right way. At the end of the day, we weren't on the right side of the competitive edge to go play the way that we're capable of. That being said, there's a lot of things that we did really well too during the course of the game. I thought the effort, strain, energy, technique on special teams was really good. Defensively, played really sound. You know, a majority of the football game. Gap assignments, allowed a couple of big runs early in the football game, but other than that, really good. Offensively, you know, we ran it for dang near 8 yards a carry and had some efficiency in the pass game too. Penalties in the red zone in particular, you know, drop balls, hitting a couple more passes, lead to a different score, you know, and certainly one that we all want. But those are all things that we control. And, you know, that was a big point of emphasis today with our guys, you know, control the controllable, which is what sits in that room and how we prepare.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Of course, you're not going to win football games on that. I get that. If you can only go back and do something differently, this play or that play, and not just in football game, but in our lives as well. Man, if I only kept my mouth shut and didn't say that, you know, that situation wouldn't have got, you know, that severe or that out of sorts or whatever. But really, when you think about it, you had 3 holding penalties by your wide receivers. You know, fair or not, you know, that I discussed that on podcasts earlier in the week. But, you know, fair or not, you were flagged 3 times for holding, and one completely derailed a drive, and you were pretty much at the 5-yard line going in, or the 10-yard line going in, and you had to settle for a field goal, which is just kind of ridiculous. What if those don't happen? What if you hit Dante Thornton in stride? You know, that's a walk-in touchdown. You know, what if Ramel Keaton catches that bomb from Joe Milton in the Virginia game? And then Joe Milton's stat line looks like 285 yards passing instead of 200 and whatever it was. So, you know, shoulda, coulda, woulda. It's so true, but Tennessee could have easily scored 60-plus against Virginia. Tennessee could have easily scored 50-plus against Austin Peay. But it didn't. And you got to correct some things and move on. Looking ahead to correct some things, it's going to be a place where Tennessee's just not won in a long, long time. In fact, it's been since 2003. Tennessee has not won there since 2003, the Iceman. It's been 20 years since Tennessee has won in the Swamp. I'm going to play some clips. Of course, Josh Heupel and some of these players were asked about that on Monday, and I love the responses. I'll let you hear them. We'll kind of react to it. This is Josh Heupel and Jacob Warren about, is there any correlation between that and this year's team, and kind of what do they think about the losing skid in the Swamp?
It's a great environment. At the end of the day in this game, and yesterday has nothing to do with today, the previous game, our previous play has nothing to do with what's going to happen on the next play. It's about, preparing the right way, practicing the right way, that will lead to you playing the right way.
I think it's something that, in the nicest way possible, everyone outside of the building cares about and talks about and thinks is a big deal. I don't think to most of the guys on the team, like you mentioned, the younger guys, like whether they really know about it or not, I'm not sure, but just one of those things, again, that doesn't really matter, right? When we're on the field, who cares how long it's been, right? Whether it's here or there or whatever. I'm just going out there and just trying to compete and be the best on this day. Obviously, it'd be great to win there for sure after this many years, but something that we're not necessarily worried about.
Josh Heupel, Jacob Warren, the responses to, do you think about it? Do you know? Tennessee had won since 2003. And I love the responses. Josh Heupel's exactly right. I always say this. 2 years ago has nothing to do with this year's football team. The football team in 2011 has nothing to do with the football team in 2023. I get it. But at the end of the day, again, you haven't won there since 2003. It's like, what's going on? So this is also Tennessee's looking for its first back-to-back winning streak, 2 games in a row over Florida since 2003 and 2004. You won in the Swamp in 2003 with the Iceman. You won in Neyland with a freshman quarterback in Eric Ainge and Brent Schaefer on that Will Hoyt 51-yard field goal. I was at that game. Couldn't even hear myself think. So anyway, I love the responses, and I agree with them. It's a talking point for us, for fans, for media alike, but not necessarily to those guys on either side in that room. What about Florida in general? What does Florida look like? I'll give you my scout as the week goes on. We'll break that down. We'll have Brandon Olson. I know you guys are excited about that. From Locked On Gators, he'll join us to tell us all there is to know about Florida later in the week. We'll have Boogie on. I'll give you my scout. But what does Josh Heupel say about Florida, the skill players, the quarterback, the running backs, all that type of stuff? Here's what he had to say on that on Monday.
Looking forward to playing a really good football team here. Great opportunity. You come to Tennessee because you want to play in these types of games, these types of environments, sitting on prime time Saturday night. Great challenge in front of us, really good football team. They're big, strong, athletic on both sides of the line of scrimmage. Skill players on both sides are really good, great speed, and will be a huge test for us. So, yeah, they got great team speed. Got athletes that can go make plays in space. You got to bottle up the run game. That's a huge part of what they do, and that sets up their play-action pass. A year ago, they hurt us with some of that. We got to be able to fit the run and then play assignment sound and play the ball well when it's in the air. This will be the best offensive line that we've seen. They're big, strong, they're athletic, and look like a typical Florida offensive line.
Josh Heupel on Florida. I don't have it in the bottom ticker here on YouTube. I'll add it for tomorrow. But FanDuel, official partner of Locked On, has Tennessee as a 7.5-point favorite as of Monday, with the over/under, the total sitting at 57.5. So, some good stuff there. Tennessee still very much a favorite in this football game on the road. And then finally, hey, will Cooper Mays be back? I'll play you what Josh Heupel said, and then I'll give you my opinion on if center Cooper Mays will be back in the swing of things.
Yeah, he was with us last week, warmed up with us. We made a decision pretty early in the week that he probably would not play in that football game, and anticipate him, having a good week of practice here and being ready. Yeah, if he's playing, we have great confidence that he's going to play at the level that he wants to, and we need him to too.
We'll see. Okay, so he was at practice. He was doing some things off to the side last week, and so he's getting back in the swing of things. He dressed out. Of course, it was never going to play, but he dressed out. He was out there for pregame warm-ups and for the game on Saturday. We'll see. I think it's very, very, very probable that he plays the next week against UTSA. I think it's still very questionable about Florida. So we'll see how he progresses throughout the week. Fact of the matter is, you just don't know right now. It's Tuesday morning. Things could progress, and of course, this will be a doctor's decision as well because it's a situation in the the upper body. So anyway, we will see exactly what happens. But Tennessee would welcome Cooper Mays back with open arms. Plenty of more to get into with Florida. That's coming up as the week goes on. I want to get into your mailbag questions from you everydayers when you get to take over the show. That's what you have to look forward to in segment number 2 of a Tuesday Locked On Vols that is coming up next. But first, I want to tell you about our friends, Gametime. Buying tickets to your favorite events should never be stressful. There's a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all your sporting events, but not just sports, but music and comedy and theater, all near you. Killer deals on last-minute tickets, their best price guarantee. You can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped up for all the fun that you're going to have with Gametime. Flash deals on last-minute tickets, easy to find to buy your tickets for every kind of event in your area. They're going to show you images, actual images of what your seats look like before you buy, and they've got your back as well. Lowest price guaranteed, even cancellation protection if you need to cancel your plans, or job loss protection if you lose your job prior to the event. Forget planning months in advance. Gametime's got the tickets on deals right up to the day of the event. I encourage you to go and download the Gametime app, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, and you're going to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, boys and girls, it is that time of the week when you take over the show, mailbag questions, and we'll get into it from you everydayers right now. We'll start with Kurt. Yes, Milton has a cannon. Yes, the wide receivers had all the hype heading into the season, but is it really the worst thing if our running backs are our best position? We can dominate games with that run game, and there will come a point to where they have to stack the box instead of taking away the deep ball. Kurt, to answer your question, absolutely not. I was high. I'll be the first one to admit it through 2 games. It's not been the best start. I'm high on this wide receiver room. I am still high on this wide receiver group. I am. I like that position group and the collection of guys. Also been on record saying that I think Tennessee is one of the deepest running back rooms in the SEC. I think Jalen Wright is a clear-cut RB1. I think he's a stud. And so if that's your best position group, no, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, but you're also going to need those explosive plays down the field. When they start stacking the box, and I'll be intrigued to see if Florida does it this week, you got to have Milton be able to complete some passes over the top. They just not played a lot of single high safety the first 2 weeks. There's been a lot of 2-man back there, and they've been trying to keep everything in front of you. So, Kurt, I think that that's the worst idea in the world, but you're going to have to still have the ability to pick up chunk plays down the football field. Let's go to Philip. Do you think Florida will load the box? Oh, that's a good question. I was kind of talking about that. Do you think Florida will load the box and make us beat them through the air with how poorly we've thrown the football? I think Florida's going to do what Florida wants to do. Meaning, sure, it'll adapt to Tennessee's game plan. It'll have a game plan coming in and all that. But, it felt like the first 2 games, Austin Peay or Virginia, are like, all right, strong arm Joe, you're not going to throw it over our heads. All right, you can throw it in front of us. We'll come up and make a tackle, but you're not going to throw it over our heads. I think Florida's going to say, all right, we have SEC safeties. We're going to play one high. We're going to blitz. We're going to do some things underneath, man coverage underneath. Florida's going to do what it wants to do. I do think Florida's going to be like, all right, I would rather Milton beat us than Tennessee to run for almost 300 yards on us. So I do think you're going to see some more heavier boxes and not just some light boxes like we've seen the first couple of weeks. Michael says, do you think the issues with the wide receiver stem from missing so much practice during fall camp, similar to the cornerbacks last year? Josh Heupel doesn't believe so. He was asked that after the football game on Saturday. I personally do, because, especially with Dante Thornton, you're brand new. Dante Thornton, brand new, and still trying to get in a rhythm and get in this offense and all that type of stuff. So I don't think it affects Brew McCoy, Ramel Keaton, even Squirrel that much, but I think it's affected Dante Thornton. I don't think it's a huge deal, but I do think there's something to that because these guys did not play in scrimmages hardly at all. Very much NFL preseason-esque. Let's go to Jared. Jared says, am I wrong in the thinking that Joe couldn't handle the pressure of being blitzed? Those packages and the defense threw at him, which is what led at times to some throws off target or not being able to cognitively see the middle of the field. How can that be fixed? Can that be fixed? More so than anything, I think the offensive line struggled with that. And that's not great because it was just Austin Peay. And I'm not saying they got whipped or anything, but Austin Peay, again, they came in with a good game plan. I give that coaching staff a lot of credit. They came in and they threw a lot at the offensive line, and that was good to see if you're Tennessee's offensive line, because you're going to see that against Florida this week on the road. You're 100% going to see that against Florida on the road. So I don't think that really fazed Milton. Milton showed some ability to evade some pressure. His best play of the day is when he spun out and threw it to Dante Thornton down the sideline, and Dante Thornton dropped it. So I wouldn't buy too much into that, but Jared, that's a good observation and a good question. Let's go to James. James says, let's see here, Twitter Tuesday, with the issues in the down the field passing game so far, do you think there's a receiver who could kind of act as a safety blanket for Joe? It seemed like Hooker did that last year in Pittsburgh with Tillman. Yeah, he had Tillman targeted 19 times at 13 receptions or whatever it was. There's nobody to that level, to that extent. But I think that's going to be the running backs this year. You're already seeing the running backs become more active in the passing game. I think it was in game 1, there were 6 receptions for 35 yards. Here in game 2, Small had a reception, Sampson had a reception, and Wright had 3 receptions. So 5 receptions, a combined 11 receptions in the first 2 games from the Tennessee running backs. I think that's going to be more of the security blanket, treating it as a true check down. Let's go to Trevor. Trevor says, how much does Austin Peay game help in practice this week? Meaning they didn't perform well in the Austin Peay game, motivation, coaches being on it, players being on it. If that's what you're asking, yeah, I think that's there. Anytime that you kind of get embarrassed a little bit, and again, you didn't lose, but Jacob Warren was asked. I know there was a report out there earlier in the week about a players only meeting, after that win or sometime on Sunday or Monday or whatever. And fans see that and like, oh man, things are not good in the locker room. No, guys, that happens all the time. Jacob Bourne was asked about it on Monday and said, yeah, we the leaders of the offense, we had a meeting, we talked to the guys. Guys, that happens all the time. It's not a big deal. But it's good that you have those leaders are saying, hey, what just happened is not okay. We need to fix some things. We need to fix some things in a hurry. So anyway, long-winded, Trevor, to answer your question, I would say, yeah, I think it certainly will help them have a great week of practice, though Josh Heupel didn't think last week was a bad week of practice. Let's go to Ross. How was that not targeting in the Austin Peay player in the first quarter? Yada, yada, yada. I'm going to be honest with you. I've not gone back and looked at the replay much. I do remember it. His head was not turned. He wasn't spearing. Again, I made the comments at VolQuest during the thing, can we not play football anymore? I understand you don't want head injuries and stuff. People are like, oh, Eric Kane, big CTE supporter, right? Let's grow up and be mature about things, right? My point was, you can't even hit anybody anymore. So I don't know. I'm fine with that not being targeting. I would hate to see somebody get ejected from a football game for that. I hear what you're saying, and it's the rule. I have an issue with the rule. That's my thing. More so for the defense, not so much for the offense trying to get a crackback block. So anyway, he did not spear Lee with his head. His head was turned, so I would say that's kind of the defense there more than anything. But Ross, appreciate the question. We've got a couple more here. We'll go to Locked On Vols channel messages here. Let's see here. I have not read this one yet. This is new since I prepped for the show. We're going with blind here. This is from Hunter. How much of the past 2 weeks' frustrations do you think comes out from the play calling? Do you think we are being very vanilla and just not showing much on purpose until we get into SEC play? A little bit. I do think that Tennessee's holding back a smidge, but at the end of the day, again, Joe Milton was not accurate. Receivers drop passes. That's not play calling. That's execution. More than anything, I think the struggles offensively have been execution. Ramel Keaton dropping a ball, Ramel Keaton fumbling. It's more execution than anything. But I will say I do think Tennessee's got some plays up their sleeve they haven't run yet. But no, it's more execution than anything. Let's go to Eric. Eric says, with Wright already having 233 yards on the season, how likely is it that he gets to 1,000 yards on the year? I think that happens. And I have to go back and look. Off the top of my head, I would say probably Kamara Hurd. Probably Hurd. I don't think John Kelly ever got there. I don't believe Eric Gray didn't. Todd Chandler didn't. It's been a minute since I'm going to do that as soon as this podcast is over. It's been a minute since Tennessee's had a 1,000-yard rusher. I think that happens this year with Jalen Wright. I do. He's off to a really good start. And then finally, the last question, it will go to Vols by Fitty, who told me in the tweet, been listening to me for 2 years, created a Twitter account just to ask you a question. Vols by Fitty. Love it. Thank you. That's what I'm talking about. Said, so do you think Coach Hype didn't want to open up the playbook? Well, this kind of goes on with what I was saying a moment ago. Doesn't want to open up the playbook with more deep balls to keep from our future opponents having film against us due to all the bubble screens and short passes behind the line of scrimmage. I feel like the offense is going to turn loose against Florida. More so than anything, yes, Milton was struggling. I get it. And yes, they pretty much gave up on that art in the second half of the Austin Peay game, but Austin Peay was giving it to Tennessee in terms of like, oh, you want the perimeter game, you want the short passes, go ahead. Like, that was there. Tennessee adapted to it. Sure, Joe Milton was having a bad day, but they're playing two high safeties. Florida's going to mix it up some, and I do believe you're going to see some shots down the field. So more than anything, I think it was Tennessee seeing what the defense was giving them and taking advantage, and that was the same for Virginia as well. Vols by Fitty, appreciate you. Appreciate everybody for sending in those Twitter Tuesday questions. As always, you guys are incredible. Really do appreciate that. When we come back, Brandon Spurlock of the Volunteer Club Spyre Spotts telling you about an awesome opportunity to watch Tennessee in Neyland when they're, in fact, in the swamp this week for Night at Neyland. That's coming up next right here on Locked On Vols. First, I want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel. Get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 back in bonus bets. That is guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 are going to get $100 off NFL Sunday ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. That is not a bad deal right there whatsoever. Now's the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use to bet on everything from the spreads, the player props, and more. I love the props. Props are fun. And plus, if you're new to this art and sports gambling, I encourage you to do props because props are fun before you start diving into those totals and the spreads and all that. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to kick off the NFL season with an offer that you don't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Hey guys, welcome back into a Tuesday Locked On Vols. It is Florida week, big time rivalry game coming up at the end of the week, and I know a lot of you guys are going to be making your way down to Gainesville to the Swamp to see if Tennessee can win there for the first time since 2003, but maybe some of you guys are staying here locally in town, and there's a great viewing opportunity I want to tell you about, and to help me do that, Brandon Spurlock of Spyre Spotts, the Volunteer Club, coming on to join us here on the show. Brandon, appreciate the time, man.
Appreciate it, man. How you doing?
Doing well. It's hard not to be doing well when it's a big rivalry week. Florida game, it always kind of gets the juices going. I want to ask you about Night at Neyland. A lot of viewers right now probably have heard about that, but don't have all the details. Tell us what Spyre Spotts, the Volunteer Club, is doing for Night at Neyland during the Florida game.
Yeah, definitely the results of an awesome partnership, with us, Tennessee Athletics and the Vol Network in particular. And as far as we can tell, a first of its kind type event, where, we know how people feel about going down to Gainesville. So in lieu of driving down to Gainesville or flying down to Gainesville, we figured we'd just kind of stay where we're all happy and comfortable in Neyland Stadium and just put we got that nice new Jumbotron on the north end too. So we'll have both of them on with the game. Up there in the social deck on the north end. So catered food by Gus's Deli, and then also our partners, Exterior Home Solutions, help make this possible too.
So watching the game from Neyland, of course, the game's taking place in Gainesville, and you're right, it's much better than being in the swamp. I don't know if anybody wants to go there unless you're playing a football game or going to watch a football game. But if you can't make the trip, you get to watch the game at Neyland from the party deck, which is really cool. And tickets are just for Vol Club members, correct? And how much are those tickets?
Yeah, you got to be a member, and then the tickets are $100. So most all the proceeds from this again are going to support NIL and support our players. So Not only do you get a good experience, that we have a lot of catering, and like I said, Gus is helping us putting it on and saving the costs for us. But then that way we can put more and more back into the players on this. So as long as you're a member, if you're not a member, you can join at thevolunteerclub.com, and you can purchase your ticket right after joining for $100.
And you kind of mentioned earlier, but this is kind of setting a precedent, right? I mean, this is kind of a first of its kind type watch party. We see it for, other sports and stuff, but it's somewhere in town. You see it in professional venues. Go to Fenway Park to watch the Bruins or whatever. But at college landscape, kind of a first of its kind, right?
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, for us, for sure. I haven't really seen any other schools, and that's just the NIL landscape. Is you're constantly searching for new and innovative ways to create revenue. To support our players and to support our fans that are 500 members. Should hit that hopefully as early as today or tomorrow. So always, seeking new ways to add value, as we've talked about from the very beginning. And this is just another iteration of that.
Yeah, you kind of cut out for just a second when you're given the member total, but you're approaching 3,500. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're just under 3,500, so we should hit that today or tomorrow. Hopefully, definitely by the end of this week, by kickoff of Florida for sure.
Yeah, that's incredible. Volunteer Club approaching 3,500 members, one of the fastest growing collectives in the country, and you guys are always doing something. Tailgates at pretty much every single game. You guys just had a tailgate for the Austin Peay game. I heard a lot of positive reviews. I got to stop and check in with you guys in Nashville. Everything looked really cool.
Yeah, I think, last year going to this point, maybe we had, I forget the number, if it was 1,200 members, 1,400 members going into the season, and we were tailgating a lot over in Circle Park. I know we had one on the G5 landing for the Florida game. And so this year, again, as a result of our kind of expanded partnership with Tennessee, we've got a set location right on between McClung Tower and the pedestrian walkway right there on the campus. So you got the stadium in the backdrop, right in the heart of campus, in a beautiful area with shade, lots of space. So we had our first tailgate at that location on Saturday, and we'll be there the rest of the season. We had the smoker going, bars, everything like that. It was good for kids. We've got some grass in the area. So I don't know. I've been to a lot of tailgates, and I hadn't, I'm biased, but I don't know that I've been to a better one. So we're going to keep trying to up that bar and have a place for people to land here in Knoxville.
Brandon, you said you're always looking for new and innovative ways to bring in some revenue. Have you guys discussed charging for autographs, handshakes, and pictures with Austin Price at these tailgates?
Austin Price. I don't know if we can pay him enough. He commands a significant price. He was there supporting, obviously been supportive of what we do in our Vol Club Confidential and different efforts. But we'll have to work him on that. Maybe talk to his agent.
Yeah, you need to for sure. Tell us about the Volunteer Club. A lot of people heard about it, kind of familiar with it, name, image, and likeness and everything, but maybe haven't dipped their toes in just yet, but are curious. What are some different level options to join the Volunteer Club if you're a Tennessee fan?
Yeah, I think it's, again, we were very deliberate about it being for everybody. The Neyland Stadium is full of all walks of life, and that's what we are. So $5 a month is the entry-level membership. And really, throughout all the levels, I think you can find something that you're looking for. If you're into autograph memorabilia, we've got that. If you're into player appearances and player access, we got that. And then obviously, the tailgates that we have. So I think we said, 30% of our people don't live in the state. So they're here, or they're coming and maybe don't have a place that they're set up at. We also do events on the road as well. So I think there's something for everybody. And again, $5 a month is somewhat of a forgettable cost. And again, if you're not into any of that, your money's going towards paying the players and doing the NIL deals that we set up for them. And is one of the key attraction points for players that are, committing or transferring, things like that.
Yeah, the opportunities in traditional, recruiting, the opportunities for the future of these student athletes, and of course, transfer portal, a lot of opportunities when you have a successful, collective that's running, and you guys do that for sure. Plus $5, as you mentioned, it's pretty much nothing at the end of the day. Do want to ask and get your input on what you think is going to happen this week. Oh, real quick, I'll say that for the end. Before that, I believe you guys passed this milestone months ago, but correct me if I'm wrong. There's a Volunteer Club member in all 50 states of the United States. Is that correct?
Yes. I think we crossed that several months ago. We might have lost one and had to get it back, but it was. I mean, that might have been 6 months ago when we did that. So we had the big map rolling out there. So we've sent our Volunteer Club flag all across the country here into this summer, just having people kind of plant it and where they are. So that's pretty fun.
That is really, really cool. All right, man. So you got Not at Neyland. You got to be a member. Tickets are $100. What a great venue. What a great atmosphere to watch Tennessee take on Florida from Neyland Stadium. So I encourage you to go and buy those tickets. Where can you buy those tickets again?
TheVolunteerClub.com.
TheVolunteerClub.com. And it will certainly be a great venue to watch Tennessee play some football this weekend. Brandon, out the door, man. What do you think? It was Not as explosive, I guess is a good way to describe the Austin Peay game, but did get a win. Of course, you put up some points against Virginia. Now it's go time. Rivalry week plus SEC play on the road. How do you think it's going to go this week, Tennessee and Florida?
Well, I mean, I know everybody knows how the results have been for us down in the swamp, and I don't know. I've been doing this a long time. I don't get too high or too low on one game. I mean, it obviously wasn't the performance that it's funny how quick we get spoiled. And,
Yes.
we win 11 games and our fan base kind of, we expect that. And that's fine. That's great. But, I expect them to be ready. And Coach Heupel has done nothing but get them ready for games like this. So I'm excited to see it and excited to, get on with winning our first game in 15, 20 years in the swamp and move on to the next thing.
Brandon Spurlock, you can find him on Twitter at SpurlockB. He is a grinder, as his Twitter bio says, for Spyre Sports and the Volunteer Club. And go ahead, he'll be over there at the Night at Neyland. Go up there and shake his hand and ask him how he's doing. Brandon, appreciate it as always, man. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having us, Eric.
Really enjoyed Brandon for jumping on, telling you about that opportunity, and you guys can do it as well. Become a Volunteer Club member and buy that ticket for $100. Was also told after I completed that interview that there is just a couple of VIP tickets available. Those are $250. Not sure what the VIP treatment entails, but only a couple tickets available at the time of this recording. So if that's if you want to do that, I would encourage you to jump on that as well. It's Florida week. Tennessee, Florida will continue to break down this rivalry as the week goes on. So many crossovers coming up. I'm really excited about the coverage you're going to get right here on Locked On Vols. Thank you so much for being here. When we come back tomorrow, Award Wednesday, we'll take a look at some of those Pro Football Focus snap counts, defensive backs in coverage, missed tackles, all that type of stuff. Focusing more on that than the actual grades at Pro Football Focus. I think that's going to be the right avenue this year and kind of a happy median when I do my Pro Football Focus stuff. Anyway, that's what you had to look forward to on tomorrow's show. Appreciate you guys as always. This is Locked On Vols.